The misconception and mistreatment of the idea of nothing. Here is nothing. The term here implies a place, a location, some kind of coordinate. Nothing cannot be at that place or location because nothing is not something that can be anywhere. The term be, to be, implies an act or condition for something. Nothing is not something. Nothing will not be here later because nothing is not a thing that can do things like to be somewhere. Clarifying the idea that something can come from nothing. One classic theory about existence is that there is some kind of origin, some kind of beginning. And before there was an existence, there was a nothingness, a state or condition of no existence. Then you are going to hear that out of this non-existence, springing forth from the nothingness, an existence emerged. Let us accurately clarify this theory. To have a beginning, there must be some point that distinguishes or acts like a border or dividing line between that which has begun and whatever there is before it has begun. A is not a nothing or nothingness. It is not an actual thing to call nothing. Something cannot share a border with nothing. Nothing does not occupy or reserve an area that is different from the beginning of something else. Nothing is not an actual thing that is distinguishable. We cannot say that something begins from nothing or begins after or separate from nothing. A state or condition. Nothing and nothingness are not states or conditions of anything. The literal definition of nothing is that it does not exist. It is not a thing. It is not something that was or is or will be. Springing forth, emerged. Things that do not exist are not things that have other things springing forth from them. Nothing is not something that things can emerge from. Nothing is still something that exists. A state of nothingness is actually a description about something. When we say there is a nothingness, we are describing a particular quality or condition of existence, of something. The thing that is the nothingness is still a part of existence. There is no actual nothingness. There is still existence. Here is existence. This box represents anything and everything that exists. There is no outside or beyond this box, because outside and beyond are distinguishable states or conditions we are attempting to define as being different from inside the box. Therefore, outside and beyond are also things that exist, and the accurate description is that when we go there, we would still be inside the box, because the box equals anything and everything that exists. So actually, all these things are in the box, including this statement. We cannot go to nothing. Nothing is not a place that we can go to. There are no things outside or beyond the box. There is no actual place, location, state, or condition outside or beyond the box. In order for outside and beyond to be anything at all, they have to be things that exist. In fact, this is not actually a box. Because existence does not have a border or boundary, it does not share a border with something that does not exist. You cannot point your finger at nothing. The act of pointing at automatically means to point at something. It is a physical act. It is not a hypothetical act. However, even when expressed hypothetically, it is still a hypothetical description of a physical act. Even when nothing represents the absence of something, To point the finger at nothing means you have not actually pointed your finger. The use of the term nothing describes the absence of the act of pointing at. In our physical reality, when you point your finger, you automatically point it at something, regardless of whether you can see or determine what that something is, and regardless of whether what you are pointing at is intentional or not. Your finger never intentionally or unintentionally points at nothing, because nothing is not a thing that exists in a place at a location that you can point to. Nothing is not a thing that occupies a location, nor is it a thing that exists or has physical property. Therefore, you are not pointing at it because nothing is not a thing. It is not an it. You cannot say, here it is, here is nothing, I found it. You cannot find nothing in the sense of a thing that has been obtained. You cannot also say, I have found nothing, in the sense of locating it somewhere, such as, here it is. Comparative use of the term nothing. What is accurately happening when we use the term nothing? The very act of using the term nothing defines it and treats it as something. When we use the term nothing, we are still describing something. Since nothing is not a thing in and of itself, the value comes from the relationship to something that does exist. So when we use the term nothing, we use it comparatively. Let's try this little dialogue. How much money do you have in your wallet? I have nothing. Prove it. Why, you don't believe me? I just want you to show me that you have nothing in your wallet. Here, see, I told you there was nothing in my wallet. I see plenty of things in your wallet, like papers and cards. What are you talking about? There's no money in my wallet. You cannot actually show me nothing, but since I know that money is something that exists, I understand the absence of it. Nothing is not something that is in your wallet. It is the description of what is not in your wallet. In this case, what is not in your wallet is money. Your use of the term nothing only makes sense comparatively to the thing money, which does exist. When you opened your wallet, you were showing me a space that has no money in it, representing the absence of something. One of the most accurate definitions of our use of the idea and term nothing is, it represents the absence of something. The value or significance of nothing is its relation to something. This helps explain how nothing can be used or treated as something. If we have something, describing nothing for it means not something, the absence of the something, the absence of what we could have. The meaning and value of nothing is only within the comparative description. We cannot take the not something and put it somewhere. If you say, I have found nothing, it only has meaning based on the understanding that you could have found something or you were supposed to find something. There are 5 eggs to find. How many have you found? I have found nothing. I have found none of the eggs. No eggs were found. What's in the box? There is nothing in the box. Again, we understand that nothing is not an actual thing that was found or that you have obtained. Nothing is a description of the space inside the box, as well as the contents of the box. The term nothing is part of the value and identity of the box. The physical properties of nothing. Even though we can state that there are no things inside an empty box, ultimately there are still things inside the box, such as space, air, particles, as well as the actual material of the box. If the temperature of the box was at absolute zero, its fundamental particles would still have some vibrational motion, a quantum mechanical zero-point energy. This ground state represents the lowest possible energy for the substance of the box. Some may describe it as a vacuum, but it is not entirely void of physical substance. Even supposed vacuum states that are empty space can still contain some particles and electromagnetic waves. There is still interaction, or at least access across the supposed empty space. Let's visualize an example of this. Space in vacuum state. The search and debate still rage on about what space actually is. Is space something in and of itself, a medium, an ether, a material that other things can be in or interact with? Is space a distinction and concept we apply to the property of matter? This would mean there is no actual medium that things exist in, but only the states and fields and interactions of things that exist. In the above example, we have emissions from the sun traveling through the vacuum state of space and reaching Earth. It is inaccurate to describe that the emissions are traveling through the nothingness of the nothing. Nothing is not something to travel through or across or around. Although sound may not travel through a vacuum because of an insufficient amount of atoms and molecules to vibrate, other things like the electric force can affect objects across a vacuum.